What's up, Natty Dads? Today is day 65 or week 9 of the calorie deficit. And I have to say at this point, it's kind of like cruise control. The days are pretty much the same. The weight loss is pretty slow and pretty unexciting. The sort of natural dopamine hit that you get from seeing the weight come off quickly, or at least in bigger numbers, is pretty much over. That started to end around week 6, 7, I would say. But you know, I would say that this is also not the worst part of the deficit. Just for some context, because I didn't actually vlog this part, around week 4 and 5, I bumped calories up by 200. And that was because I was in a 800 calorie deficit. I was not sleeping at all. My sleep was horrible. My food obsession, or not really obsession, but like my food drive was just way too strong. Like it was hard to go through the day without just constantly thinking about food or like focusing on my next meal. And then being able to train was difficult. Like the first set kind of felt like the last set of whatever exercise I was doing. It just wasn't an ideal place to be. So I did some research and I realized my deficit was too low, or I guess too high in that way. Based on those symptoms. Like those are classic symptoms of having too severe of a calorie deficit. So because it was too aggressive, I bumped up calories a little bit, saw a lot of improvements, was still losing weight, and sort of hit this optimal range of, yeah, my weight loss is still optimal. It's not as fast as it used to be, but my quality of life is so much better through the deficit that I'm willing to make that sort of trade-off. And so again, this week 9 phase is kind of cruise control. I haven't decided whether I want to go the full 12 weeks of the diet. I'm thinking I probably won't, just because I've got some vacations coming up. I want to get mentally and physically ready to maintain my weight through the summer. And then towards the end of summer, like mid to late August, that's when I'm going to start my bulk. It's going to go probably all the way until February or March next year. So anyway, little update there. Now let's go ahead and get to the topic of today, which is how I stay motivated when I'm not seeing results, which is kind of a segue from this part of the video. So let's go ahead and go right into that. So now is a good enough time as any to talk about motivation and how I stay motivated to work out consistently, stay on my calorie grind, even in the face of difficult social situations or traveling, vacation, whatever it might be. For me, it's always just been, why am I actually doing this? And is the reason I'm actually doing this a good enough reason for me personally? I don't do it for other people. I don't do it for, looking cool or anything like that. I just want to feel better. And when I feel better, I'm able to be myself to the highest capacity I possibly can. And that matters to me because having a good quality of life is important to me. And you might not share that same motivation, but the way I'm trying to explain it is that external motivators will always be there, and they're sort of auxiliary reasons why you do things. You want to look better naked for your spouse. You want to look better in public when you go to the gym. You want to look better at beaches and pools during summertime. Those are all great reasons to do it. But what you'll find is that those are not the most important reasons for keeping you consistent, because those things will come and go. At the end of the day, if you really want to stay consistent and make this a lifelong habit and don't be the person or the guy who keeps going back and forth between being fit and fat, and you want to make this a lifestyle change, then you have to figure out exactly why it's important for you. I've never been the person to like sit down and write down exactly the reasons why I do certain things. I've just over time realized that my life sucks more when I'm not in shape, when I'm not healthy, when I'm not eating properly, when I don't lift weights, when I don't exercise. Things like depression, anxiety, all of these sort of common mental issues that a lot of men go through happens to me what feels like 5 to 10-fold. So those are my motivators, not being in that place. And from 2020 to now, basically until 3 or 4 months ago, that was my life. And I had the contrast of realizing that I didn't want to live that way because I had lived a more fit life before that time. And I said, this is not how I want to live my life. I know it's more difficult as a dad now and as a husband, but I got to figure out a way to make what I used to do as a single guy work in my married dad life. Because if I don't, then things are going to get sour really quick and I'm going to hate my life, and I don't want that. So as a dad, you kind of have to look at it that way. You have to go, am I being the best dad I possibly can from a multitude of areas? And how does fitness improve that? Am I being the best husband I possibly can? And how does my fitness and my ability to stay fit and stay lean affect those things? And if those are important enough to you, which I hope they are, then you won't have to worry about finding motivators. You will have an endless amount of internal motivators to keep you going when things get tough. And it doesn't mean being motivated to be perfect. It just means being motivated to stay as consistent as you possibly can while life is throwing you tons of curveballs. And trust me, I'm never perfect. I don't always get my workouts, but you know, if I'm getting 3/4 of the workouts that I set out for myself, if I'm staying as consistent with my calories as I possibly can, nailing that 75% of the time, then I'm not worried about it because that's what I can manage within my life. So that's a little bit about how I view motivation, and while I think not being motivated is not an excuse. Like, I don't think that's smart at all. And if you're thinking that way, I would very much encourage you to shift gears and try to think about it a little bit differently, because always needing motivation is really just a perspective and not a lack of resource.